you for a fact that this election is between...
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that produce.
Compliment of the season, happy new year to you, and of course welcome to a fresh edition of Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, home of talk and entertainment. Don't forget that the program is basically designed to look deep into issues that affect Nigeria as a country and Nigerians as citizens. Welcome to the program. My name is Ayobami Adeyemo. Kindly follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and catch us live on YouTube. Make sure you get your TSTV decoder, channel 102 on TSTV Africa. Top-notch information and of course educated program. That's what you get there. All right, let's get to talk about a lot of critical moments in the year 2022, and of course as we kick off 2023, expectations of Nigerians are high as regards the election coming February 25th 2023, and to help us have a clear understanding of the reason why it's called the election year or the political year, as the case may be, is the former president Olusegun Obasanjo's New Year letter to Nigerians. And President Olusegun Obasanjo in his letter officially, openly endorsed the candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi. In his letter, the former president publicly support for Peter Obi to win 2023 presidential election. In his letter on Sunday, an open letter to Nigerian youth, which he also tagged Nigerians, particularly young Nigerians. He said, Happy New Year to Nigerians, and that this time Nigerian youth must definitely see reasons why they must participate in the coming election. He also emphasized the fact Peter Obi is young, vibrant, and also is one of the candidates that you can correct, I beg your pardon, when it comes to governing Nigeria. He also mentioned the fact that the reasons why Nigeria has been where it is that some persons have promised and failed in the past. For these reasons, I keep pointing out to Nigerians that they of the 1999 and of course to 2027 achievement and progress recorded under his own administration, that is President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, is accountability. And it says that many factors that is required for this particular one is character, attitude, and attribute to jobs needed govern Nigeria effectively. Well, he also mentioned a lot of things. Part of what he talked about is, he says, let me say straight away that Emilio Kwan, that's my turn, and I have paid my dues. One of main things that are wrong, and of course the wrong attitude and the mentality for leadership in our country, Nigeria, as we speak. Many conversation, many discussion as regards the letter to Nigerians from the president. But away from that, another indication which also has bring up many attention from Nigerians is the G5 effect. You recall that the People's Democratic Party have been facing some critical moments and situations before the 2023 emerged. But before the year was over, simply put, there was a letter and indication in news saying that the G5 governors met Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And Tinubu has come out to break his silence, saying that they had no meeting at all with him. It was recorded and reported on Sunday that the G5 governors met with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course have concluded some indications and agreements with him. Some footages that came out to the media space showed that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was at Saudi Arabia for his prayers, and also said he never met them in London. We take a short break. When we return, we look at 2022 and of course 2023, the ups and the ups in the year 2022. What are our expectations in year 2023? And to do justice to that, when we come after the break, I'll unveil my guest. We'll prayerfully enter this session, and don't forget, it's all about the God that's helped us to pull through all through the past years and this particular year. He's the one they call the Talk and Do God. We go for that short break. When we return, my guest will join us on the program. Stay with us, please.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdering substance will be flushed immediately.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdering substance will be flushed immediately.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen.
I'm glad to know you're still right here with us on Bright Television, home of talk and entertainment. Well, don't forget, like we always tell you, the program is strictly designed to look at issues that affect our country, Nigeria, and Nigerians. Our citizens, welcome to the program and follow us on all our social media platforms. My name is Ayobami Adiyemo. Well, to do justice to how we reflect the year 2022, and of course to think deep and look ahead of progressive years, a year, and of course a year full of better achievement, is not a person but an educationist, an instructor, and of course a mentor, and she has done a lot of things when it comes to bringing the better part of people from the lower level to the higher level. And no other person, she's also a mother, and she's going to do justice to that this morning. I'm talking about Dr. Julie Onovwiona. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to, and good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Good morning, compliments of the season.
Happy New Year, compliment of the season.
Yeah.
To you. You look so radiant, so
Thank
beautiful.
you. It's God's mercy.
Yes, it's God's mercy. I like it as we start from that note. Well, I know there's one particular inspiration that I'm going to drag from this conversation today. That is Talk and Do God.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, let's talk about, you're an educationist, and the year 2022 was a year that many people reflect and also look back and say, well, education sector really suffered a lot, coupled with the fact that we had ASU strike that lasted for 8 months.
8 months.
Thereabouts. We had a lot of, students being kidnapped in different parts of Nigeria and many other issues. How do you reflect and look back at 2022 from this side?
Well, it was not a good thing for parents having to watch their children stay back home doing nothing. For instance, a child that meant to have finished her studies within 4 years, 7 years, they are still in the school. To worsen the whole situation is the issue of kidnapping. A lot of them were kidnapped during this 2022 year because they were out of school. So many of them went into different things, robbery, prostitution, things that are not supposed to have happened because they were not busy. And so it's not really a good thing for the nation, because the youth of the nation determines the progress of a country. So when the youth are restless, when the youth are not busy, then you give room for a lot of things that happened in 2022. So but I want to plead with government to take proper caution, especially in 2023 when election will be coming up in Nigeria. So it calls for a caution to make sure that the children are kept, the students are kept in school, busy with their studies, and no give room at all for anything that will make them to go on strike, on any strike again. So if the government needs to settle their lecturers, pay them accordingly, then they should go do that, so that there won't be issue of strike again.
Well, talking about funding and of course the government's readiness to settle the education sector itself, I should let you know that in 2022 the budget, according to President Buhari, proposed was 108.10 billion, and that is for UBEC now, and some for other tertiary institutions. It's about 248.2 billion naira for the tertiary institution, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, and many other things. But to capture it all, the United Nations Education Fund, that is, have also argued, and they said that education sector, the budget for education for 2022 should be about 1.14 trillion naira, which will also, be equivalent to 8.4% of the total budget
Package
for the year 2022. But what we see in our budget is reflecting 5.4%. We say funding is also one of those critical challenges that we faced in 2022.
Of course, if you visit most of the universities, their buildings are dilapidated. A classroom that's supposed to take about 40 or 50 children, you have more than 200 there. So the funding problem is a big one that needs to be looked into.
Come year 2023.
Come 2023. And not only that, whatever money that has been budgeted for education should be put into use. In past years, when they tell you 3 trillion was budgeted for education, you can be sure that 50% of it will not even get there. So this time around, thank God we're going to have a change of government, and we just pray that God will give us the leader that have the heart of the people in his mind. So when we have a good leader, then that money will be able to use judiciously to put things in place that will make the university environment, secondary environment conducive for learning. I remember in those days, people used to come from all over the world to come and learn in Nigeria. In most of our universities, you see a lot of white people coming to Nigeria to come and learn because the environment there was very, very conducive. But now, if you go to universities, you will cry for this nation. You will cry for this nation. And that's why I want to plead with our leaders to take us back to how they, what they enjoyed in those days. Because what they enjoyed in those days is no longer what is you have in the system. I remember when I was in the school, we had free food. Free food. You just go there, collect your ticket, and you know, you are okay. You know, whether you are rich or you are poor, we all went to the same place because the school environment was conducive, and we had government who knew what they were doing, and they focused on education. But for the past years, it's been a different ball game entirely.
Well, indeed, you know, while talking, I also recall that when we were growing up, it's always a thing of pride when you talk about the kind of schools you go to. Federal, you know, Federal College of Education. Or you go to Unity School.
Unity School.
Government College. Yes. Those were the pride of every parent. They want to tell their colleagues that my child is in this particular school.
And private schools were not that many in those days because it's only very few people took their children to private schools.
But indeed, private sector has really helped, you know, sharpen our education system as we speak right now.
Yes.
Let's reflect. 2023 was not that rosy for private, you know, sector.
2023,
so I beg your pardon. Was not that rosy for
private sector.
You know, sector, especially in this education system. Funding was also part of the challenges. Security issue was part of it. How far with that journey? What are the lessons learned?
Well, it was not an easy journey because as individuals in the private sector, if you don't have the flair for education, you easily give up. Because of the challenges, one you just mentioned, security, a lot of pupils, students were kidnapped while in school because it's only the private individuals that are, you know, trying to put things in order. But in other countries, you see government contributing to, you know, make sure that private school owners are also getting funds from government to pay salaries, to do so many things. And in that case, it makes things easier, especially during the COVID-19. In Europe, a lot of private school owners were given money to pay their staffs. But in Nigeria, you are left to cater for your problem. And so it was not easy. Not only that, not only in the area of education, a lot of taxes, a lot of levies being put on private schools, pay this, environmental, health, insurance, this and that. And it's telling so much on private individuals that own schools. So we want to plead with government in this 2023. They should lessen the burden on private school owners because private school owners are contributing so much to education in Nigeria. If you remove private school owners from the system, then the education in Nigeria will totally collapse.
That's the impact that they're making in this.
The impact we are making is so enormous. And so we need the assistance of government, especially in the area of funding. Since government assists government schools, what stops government from giving a little to private schools? After all, we are all raising global children in Nigeria. So we need support from government to ease the problems being faced by private school owners.
Well, you know, as you talk, a lot of people also want to ask some questions because we're in 2023 now and want the best to come out of this sector. And one of the challenges that Nigerians also faced during 2022 is how to afford tuition fee into private schools. Are we going to see some drastic changes, probably in reduction, so that Nigerians can also benefit the best from that sector?
Well, I'm not in the best position to answer that question.
I'm assuming you know, many people are facing lots of critical situations, especially funding, especially the economic, and of course the inflation in Nigeria globally. Now, to help bring the best out of the sector, don't you think it's better that way?
Well, my own advice is that if you know where your children are schooling, you can no longer afford the fee, go to where you'll be able to afford their fees so that you don't have issues. Because prices of goods in the market has not gone down. And you can't reduce the salaries of your workers. If you reduce the salaries of your workers, they'll look for a better place where their salaries will be paid regularly and will be satisfactory to them.
So that's the implication. If there's any reduction, probably this will happen. Reduction of salaries and many other. Is that what we're saying, right?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Well, indeed, Nigeria in 2023, we are looking for the right atmosphere to educate our children and, of course, to get best out of these young people. Well, there was a letter written to the Nigerian youth, and my guest is also one who is really passionate about bringing the best out of Nigerian youth. You've empowered people so much in your capacity. Youth empowerment, and of course the entrepreneur part of your calling or your profession, as the case may be. Now we'll talk about an entrepreneur and of course empowerment after this break, but you told me a story about you that you started by selling granules.
Yep.
From selling granules. Indeed, a woman who started from selling granules has impacted greatly in the life of Nigerians all over the world. We look at a video clip of a testimony where she called it a talk and do God. When we return, we'll look at the other part and to encourage Nigerian youth as we enter 2023, a year full of greatness for all of us. I beg your pardon. We're back after this break. Talk and do God. We're back.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
Fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdery substance will be flushed immediately.
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us. It's the Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, home of talk and entertainment. Well, a better way to just, talk about how great this 2023 is planned for us, and I have my guest in the studio with us, an educationist, one who has impacted in the lives of Nigerian youth, not only Nigerian youth, especially women in our society. When it comes to entrepreneurship and of course entrepreneurship education and many other parts of it, she has done so much. Well, I'm talking about Dr. Onovwiona. Thank you so much for joining us on the program once again.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the entrepreneurship part of it now. The story of the footage we watched, the Talk and Do, showed a lady that started from nothing to something.
Yeah.
2023 is another year that lots of Nigerian youth want to decide. In fact, the impact of the ASU strike and many other things that we learned in 2022 is still fresh in the minds of Nigerian youth. They want to venture into many things to provide for, cater for their needs, and of course impact in the society. How do you start from nothing to something?
It's
looking at your own story now.
Yeah. Starting from nothing to something, it's all about the mind. Your mind. Your mind tells you, if your mind tells you you can make it, then you can make it. So in 2023, my counsel for the youth is tell yourself in 2023 you are breaking forth. Once you tell yourself you are breaking forth, then start thinking of how you can break forth. Because if you don't have a plan grand, you may not be able to achieve anything. So that's why as the year has started now, don't waste it. A lot of people believe that once we start the year, January to like 20th of the month, they don't need to do anything. They sleep and snore, eat and just flesh around. No, this is the beginning. In the beginning is when you start to put your mind to work. Start thinking, what can I do? What are those things I have flair for? How do I impact myself and others? And put your journal down, write it down, and start following it up. Okay, you know how to design dresses. Have you gone to learn how to go about it? The first thing first is learn how to do it. Then start putting it into practice. Gradually, you become perfect in it. So the basic thing for a young man to start life is your mind. Talk to your mind. Tweak your mind. Be ready to tweak your mind. Don't do it the way you did it last year. And you need to analyze what you did last year. What were your achievements? Where were the areas you made mistakes? Be ready to correct the mistakes and move forward. And before you know it, you are there.
A lot of the length right there. Moving forward, planning, and of course having a plan.
A plan.
An idea.
Yeah.
That's to start off with is very critical. Many people have said, well, we have idea, we have a plan, we've even tried as much as possible. There are some factors that have been keeping the Nigerian youth, especially when it comes to investing or trying to establish new and up and going company, as the case may be. One of those factors are political factors. There's no good electricity, no power supply. The money flow is not encouraging. No flow, no cash to even start with. Will you say that should stop people, or what? Should that be an hindrance, as the case?
That shouldn't be an hindrance. The fact that there's no cash flow in the economy should not stop you from going to where you are going. No. Like I said earlier on, it's all about your mind. Re-strategize on what you did last year that didn't work. Gather whatever you have and start off.
How friendly is the Nigerian environment to the entrepreneurs?
It's not friendly at all. If you look at the economy, the environment, the economic situation of the country, you will not do anything. But once you have set out to achieve your goals, you will not look at any limitation that will make you to be stand still and not move forward. For example, if it's electricity, electricity is not available. You really have lights. look for alternative. We have a lot of alternatives now. Even if you claim you don't have money to go for the alternative, you can save towards it. The problem with us Nigerians is we don't have investment mentality. And until you have investment mentality, you may not achieve anything. Save towards that goal. Save towards it. Many of us, we don't prioritize our needs. For instance, you know you don't have any job you're doing, you don't have anything you're doing. This Christmas season now, you still raise about 50,000 to travel home, to meet your people in the village. To do what? That money is gone. That money would have been invested. Just take like 10,000, send to whoever you need to send something to, and invest the other 40,000. It will go a long way to start you up in whatever business you want to do. But because we don't have investment mentality, we lavish money unnecessarily. We spend money unnecessarily. We don't think of the raining days. And that's why when the chips are down, it looks as if we are not doing anything. And that is the difference between the rich and the poor. The rich man will always think of how to multiply whatever comes to his hand. But the poor man squanders all what he has, and it goes back to zero.
Well, interesting conversation, and what a way to start. Like I rightly said at the earlier hours of the program, what a way to start 2023. To reflect and, of course, to plan, think towards how to be a better person this year, 2023. Well, part of the major events that will happen in this year is also the elections now. Nigerians are all out there shouting and saying it's our time. We are supposed, this is our time to get it back, to do, to vote the right people, to vote the right people. Now, decisions will be made by people that we elect. Or people that we elect, yes. We don't select people, we elect people. And of course, that's why PVC is very paramount. 2023, what are your expectations? Especially this election for February 25th is very close.
It's by the corner. Well, I know by the special grace of God, Nigeria is in God's hands, and we expect that God himself will choose a leader for us. But God will not come down from heaven to choose the leader. And so we need to go out en masse to cast our votes. Because if we don't go out to cast our votes, we may not have the right person there. And if the right person is not there, we'll keep complaining, and the struggle will continue like that. So my advice is that if you have registered, go and collect your PVC card. Do you know what? I learned, I heard from somewhere that a lot of people that even registered have not gone to collect their cards.
So INEC has been shouting about the low collection of PVC
cards. So if you don't collect your cards, how do you want to cast your vote? So please go out there, collect your card, and when it is time for you to cast your vote, go and cast your vote, and make sure you don't sell your birthright.
Well, don't say your birthright. Well, let's look at still stick to education for a while before we still go back to that particular piece from you. I had a conversation with a professor, and he mentioned something. He said the entrepreneurship education is lacking behind. It's lacking behind in our Nigerian educational curriculum. And it seems as if that is also one of the things that is affecting Nigerian youth. We do know that after you graduate, after you go for your service, there's no job anywhere. You must, it's that you create your job yourself. How come we don't focus on this particular issue in our system?
Well, fortunately, this last year, the government have decided to incorporate entrepreneurship education into the curriculum. Although in our own school, we've started it about 4 years back. Before you finish your college, you would have learned a skill. And that skill is what is helping most of our students that are all over the universities, all over the world. Even while they're in universities, they do their businesses. We have so many of them that are photographers. I had one who was so opportune to be a video camera person to an ex-president. He's still in school and he's making a lot of money. So gone are those days when the idea is go to college, come out with 2-1, come out with the best results, get civil service job, retire and start collecting your pension. It has gone beyond that. The only thing that can make you to succeed in life is entrepreneurship education. And entrepreneurship education is all about what you know how to do best, how you can turn problems to solutions, how you can bring things out of nothing. And I know if the government decides to pump money into it and understand the basics of this entrepreneurship education, it will help individuals to grow, especially the youth, and also help the economy of the nation, because nobody will be looking for government's white collar job again. It's all about doing things that can easily bring money. And if you look at the outside world, especially China, China is so rich because they are into entrepreneurship education. They are not bothered about paper qualification. What they do is skill. Learn a skill and perfect the skill you have learned, and it has transformed the whole nation.
Indeed, probably this will help us have a productive nation, a more producing community than consuming community. All right, we'll go for a break and we'll watch that again. On return, we'll conclude on the program this morning. 2023, a year we will always remember for great things, because we are here right now. After this break, we'll be back to give you more. Stay with us, please.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us. It's Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, Dome of Talk and Entertainment. Yes, lots of conversation we've had before that break, and we've been doing justice together with guest on the program, an entrepreneur, a mentor, and of course the one who has impacted so greatly in the lives of Nigerian youths generally. I'm talking about Dr. Onovwiona. Thank you so much for joining us in the program this beautiful day. Well, before we wrap up on the program, we've seen promises made by different political parties. Many of them have said, I'm going to be securing your lives, we'll get great jobs, we'll empower the youth, we'll do this, we'll do that. And it seems as if these promises are what we've heard over the years, from 1960, as the case may be. In fact, in 1999, we had more than these, and now we're still here, still repeating the same story. How do you think we can hold these people accountable and get the best out of the promises they've made? Manifestos here and there.
The best way is to go to INEC, collect your collect your PVC, make sure you vote for the right person. When you vote for the right person, then we can all come up together to challenge them when they are not doing the right thing. But if you don't vote for the right person now, then the slavery continues. But it will not be like that in 2023. So let's do the right thing. Start thinking of how you can cast your vote. Encourage your friends that have not done that. to start to pick up their their PVC cards and start praying for God to give us the right.
Okay, if I'm going to ask you, it's a personal question. If I'm going to ask you that this is your country, Nigeria, nowhere to run to, this is your home. What are the things you really want to see change immediately?
To see change immediately, so many things. Well, as I was growing up, I grew up as a very poor child from the poorest of the poor. But because the government of the day in those days put things in place, so there was nothing to show that I really lacked much, because I went to public school where education was free, and during holidays like this, government share things for us. October 1st, we enjoy independence package. So I would want the government, number one, to make sure that the education system goes back to the way it used to be. The standard goes back to the way it used to be. Because in those days, even in primary school, from primary 1 to 2, before you move from primary 1 to 2, you must learn how to read Bintu is sitting on the table. Public school. It's not like that now. You say that if you interview 100 graduates now for employment, it's very difficult for you to have 2. So most of our graduates that we are producing from the university are not employable. So government should focus on education. Then secondly, health. Our hospitals are in a terrible shape, and a lot of people are dying as a result of the hospitals that are no longer in shape. What still is, when you go to hospitals now, the doctors are no longer there. Many of them are japa. I just pray that one day we'll not have a shortage of doctors in our hospitals. So government should put our hospitals in shape. Then there is no food in the country. They should work on agriculture. We have vast land all over the world. If you compare what we have to what other countries have, you discover that we are so blessed in this country. The seasons, when it's Harmattan, when it's rainy season, dry season, we have good weather, we have good land, but nobody is willing to go into agriculture. So government should focus on agriculture, and also work on urban places, all our rural areas. They should transform our rural areas so that the issue of youth moving from the rural areas to cities would have been reduced. Because if all the amenities that you find in cities are duplicated in the rural areas, just like you have in the developed countries, nobody will like to move away from the rural areas to city, because what you have in cities are also found in the rural areas. So government should please make sure that our hospitals are in good shape, education returns back to the way it was, our youths are engaged. Our youths are not engaged again. I remembered in those days, once you finish your university and you come out as the best in the university, the companies are just there. The companies are lined up to give you automatic employment, good accommodation, vehicles, and all those things. Those ones are no longer available because the government has not made the country conducive for investors to come in and develop the country. So we want security to be brought back the way it used to be, so that investors can come into our country to develop the country, invest on different things for us, so that the youths that are restless can be gainfully engaged, and we go back to the way Nigeria used to be.
Well, thank you so much. You've addressed a lot of issues on the program this morning, and I know those started with the responsibility actually listening, and they're also observing. No matter how it is, still have time. Even the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration still had quality time to adjust a lot of things before we hand over to the next government by God's grace. And as Nigerians, we also believe that we have our own responsibilities to also, join hands together to work together with the government. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this beautiful morning. And wish Nigerians all the best for this year. All the best this year has in stock for us come this year 2023. Thank you once again.
You're welcome.
Our guest, Dr. Judy Onovwiona. She's an educationist, a mentor, and of course, one who has impacted greatly in the lives of Nigerian youth and who is passionate about the education sector in Nigeria. Once again, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that's the package on today's edition. What a way to start, what a way to let Nigerians know that, yes, the whole thing is in our hands. Yes, it's all with you and it's all from you. Don't forget, we always tell you that when you play your part, we play our part, we have a better place called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Behind the scenes are very powerful people. Of course, thank you to Daddy Onovwiona too for being part of behind the scene and for everyone who has contributed greatly in making this a success. My name is Ayobami Ademo. God bless you and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We'll be wrapping up things this morning and we'll move with this mood into victory in 2022 with this song, and God. For more programs, stay with us, please.
You've done so much for me. If I begin to count your goodness of me, the day we break over, it will break again. If I begin to list them one by one, the day we break over, it will break again. You've done so much for me. You've done so much for me. Man, see the goodness of God upon me. If you knew me before, you will never recognize me. Oh, come and enjoy God's goodness, which only Him did. Hallelujah, you've done so much for me. What can do, God? You said it and it came to pass. What can do, God? Miracle working God. Yes, so. It's no. When He opens a door, no man can close it. Hallelujah, you've done so much for me. A million songs will not be enough. Even if I have 10,000 songs. Sugar my tea, butter my bread.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between
They sold form recently for 100 million.